For more than 3 decades, the world has mourned the tragic loss of Brandon Lee, Hollywood's rising star who was taken far too soon. The son of martial arts icon Bruce Lee, he had a bright future ahead of him, but a tragic accident on the set of The Crow changed everything. Now 32 years later, something incredible has happened. His grave had to be opened for maintenance, and what was discovered when the coffin was lifted left everyone in absolute shock. Could this finally bring long-awaited answers to the mystery of Brandon Lee's death? Or does it raise even more chilling questions? A shocking request. The world welcomed Brandon Lee as a future star on February 1, 1965, in Oakland, California, and bid him farewell on March 31, 1993, on the set of The Crow at only 28 years old. His remains lie at Lakeview Cemetery in his hometown of Seattle, resting beside his beloved father in a solemn burial site where their timeless bond remains as strong in death as it was in life. Thousands of fans visit the cemetery every year to honor a legacy that fate ended too soon. It was this constant influx of visitors that caused something Linda Lee Cadwell, Brandon's mother, could never have anticipated. After the 30th anniversary of Brandon's death, Linda received a request from the Seattle City Council authorizing maintenance of his grave. Authorities claimed the ground beneath Brandon's resting place appeared suspiciously unstable, and a crack had formed on the tombstone. Experts speculated that someone had stepped, knowingly or unknowingly, on the grave, disturbing the soil and damaging the stone. But it could also have been caused by burrowing animals, a minor earthquake that went unnoticed on the surface, or structural issues in the grave itself. The mystery deepened when Bruce Lee's nearby grave remained intact despite its proximity. The council wanted to act before rumors hit the headlines. The proposal reopened Linda's deepest wounds. She had buried her husband and son within just a few years of each other, never expecting to outlive either. And now strangers were asking to exhume her son's body from his final resting place, disturbing his eternal peace and reopening her heartbreak. Could her heart withstand this, or would it finally shatter? Though tempted to refuse, Linda knew the site had to be preserved for future visitors. She was well aware of how much fans cherished Bruce and Brandon, and how devastated they'd be if the city permanently closed access to their heroes' graves. So she said yes. The Lakeview Cemetery staff spared no expense. They built a climate-controlled structure over Brandon's grave to preserve the conditions during the operation. Special lighting and temperature systems were installed, and strict security measures were enforced to ensure privacy and respect. Only authorized team members, carefully briefed on handling protocols, were allowed near the grave. Linda provided detailed information about the grave's contents, sharing personal records she had kept since her son's death. Despite requests for secrecy, word quickly spread, and soon crowds gathered outside the cemetery. The grave of Brandon Lee, the actor whose shocking onset death stunned the world, was about to be opened after 32 years. And when the workers finally lifted the tombstone and peered inside, one haunting question echoed through Seattle. Had Brandon always known he would die young, just like his father? From a young age, Brandon trained under Bruce Lee, who taught him martial arts and discipline. But their bond went deeper than fighting techniques. Bruce's sudden death in 1973 created both an unshakable legacy and an identity crisis for his son. Should he follow in his father's footsteps or forge his own path? At 5 years old, Brandon broke a 1-inch wooden board, showing extraordinary talent. But training in dojos filled with images of his father weighed heavily on him. Torn between honoring Bruce's memory and escaping his shadow, Brandon rebelled during his teenage years. Expelled from school, struggling with anger, he drifted, searching for meaning in a life marked by loss. Eventually, the pull of entertainment became irresistible. He earned his GED, moved to New York, and studied acting at the prestigious Lee Strasberg Institute. In 1985, Brandon returned to Los Angeles, taking script reading jobs before landing his first credited role in Kung Fu, the movie. Ironically, the original Kung Fu series had been created for Bruce Lee. Was this fate, or a cruel twist of destiny? Though reluctant to star in martial arts films, Brandon eventually embraced his path, starring in Legacy of Rage, Laser Mission, and more. Behind the scenes, he trained intensely with Dan Inosanto, recording sessions just as his father once had. Finally, in 1993, He was cast as Eric Draven in The Crow. It was to be his breakout role. Instead, it became his last. During a scene where his character was supposed to be shot, a prop gun fired not a harmless blank, but a deadly fragment from a dummy bullet left in the barrel from an earlier mistake. Fired at close range, the fragment struck Brandon in the abdomen. Despite hours of surgery, he died from massive internal injuries and blood loss. No criminal charges were filed, but the negligence was undeniable. His mother Linda sued the producers and others involved, eventually reaching a settlement. His fiancée, Eliza Hutton, joined her. Production continued, completed with the help of Brandon's stunt double Chad Stahelski. The Crow went on to become a cult classic, forever haunted by its star's tragic death. But was it truly an accident? Or something more sinister? When Brandon's grave was opened 32 years later, workers expected damage. Instead, they found something astonishing. His coffin was intact. Around it lay mementos, signed photos, heartfelt letters, small tokens from friends and colleagues, all perfectly preserved. Among them was a sealed collection of letters written at the time of his funeral, messages of grief, hope, and promises to preserve his legacy. But one envelope stood out. Sealed with a symbol of two intertwined dragons, it immediately shocked Linda. Bruce Lee's nickname had been the Dragon, and Brandon had cherished the imagery as a child. This could only have come from him. When the letter was opened, it revealed Brandon's own words, written days before his death, as if he had foreseen it. The journey we began together never ends. The limitations you perceive are illusions of the mind. Be water. Flow through obstacles, adapt to challenges, and find strength in your formlessness. But above all, remember this. Your true path emerges not by following mine, but by discovering your own. Empty your cup to fill it with your wisdom. Linda broke down in tears. Why would Brandon write this unless he had known his time was short? Had he sensed danger on the set of The Crow? Or carried a lifelong belief he wouldn't outlive his father? Linda remembered the many times Brandon had casually said he'd die young, perhaps even younger than Bruce. Had he carried this burden silently all his life? For her, the truth was painful but clear. Brandon had always lived under his father's shadow, and deep down he believed his fate was already written. Though devastated, Linda chose to share his final message with the world, ensuring Brandon would be remembered not just as Bruce Lee's son, but as his own man. Kind, brilliant, and burdened by a destiny he never escaped. The journey we began together never ends. Brandon's words echo today, a reminder that his story and spirit live on in the hearts of fans everywhere. Do you believe this was Brandon Lee's true message to the world? Or is there a hidden meaning behind his final words? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.